9 o'clock, and I'll call the November 26th, 2019 Board of Supervisors meeting to order. I'll turn that on where everybody can hear me. First of all, we have Pastor Nick Contrell here from All Nation Church to do our invocation. I would ask for everyone to please stand and remain standing for the pledge.
Father God, we thank you for this day. And God, before we ask anything of you, God, we just ask for you. We ask for you to be in the middle of this meeting, in the middle of this proceeding, Lord, be in this place today. Let everything be done to glorify and honor you, Lord God. We are reminded by your word that you are a God of order and not disorder, that things should be done in a fitting and orderly way. And Lord God, meetings like this are a part of that process, and we thank you for that. Help wisdom and guidance to prevail today, Lord God. Help all things to be done in a way that is just advancing this community to the things that you've called it to be. Lord, we love you and we thank you, and it's in your name that we pray.
Amen. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Again, good morning, everyone. And before we get into our main topic this morning, we have some resolutions honoring some people this morning. And the first one we're going to honor is Carolyn King and Coy McRoberts, Supervisor of the Land Mines District, is going to do the honors. Carolyn, would you come up, please?
I don't have a clue what I did. Well, come on up here, Kyle. I tell you right now, there's nobody no better than you that I want to give this to. This is a resolution to 2019-34, a resolution honoring Carolyn King, whereas Ms. King was appointed by the Witt County Electoral Board to serve as General Registrar on October 1st, 2012, whereas Ms. King's appointment came after serving as Assistant Registrar since January 16, 1993. Whereas Ms. King dedicated 26 years to serving the Witt County citizens by assisting eligible persons to register to vote, providing voter cards, maintaining voter records, maintaining absentee ballots, assisting at polling locations, and coordinating the election process as required by law. Now therefore be it resolved, the Witt County Board of Supervisors Assembly in regular session in Whitfield, Virginia, the 26th day of November 2019, does hereby express its sincere appreciation to Ms. King for her dedicated service, and does convey its best wishes to her and her family for continued success, happiness, and good health for years to come. Be it further resolved that the Witt County Board of Supervisors does hereby direct that this resolution be incorporated in the official minutes of this board, and that a framed copy be given to Carolyn King as a token of their high regard. Adopted this 26th day of November 2019, Jim Reeves Chairman. Now, I do not have that trip that they was going to give you to China somewhere.
I'll entertain a motion to adopt Resolution 2019-24.
So moved.
Have a second?
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Congratulations, Carolyn.
I can't believe she brought all these people to come out just for her.
Our next resolution is Mr. Brian Botts, Supervisor of Blackfeet District, going to present to Rural Retreat Elementary School.
You gonna do it right here? Since I'm from Brewery Retreat, I'm gonna use the proper pronunciation, so I hope the news media doesn't make fun of me, but, with County Resolution 2019-33 in recognition of Brewery Retreat Elementary School as a 2019 Blue Ribbon School. Whereas U.S. Department of Education Secretary Betsy DeVos named Brewery Retreat Elementary School in Wythe County, Virginia as a 2019 National Blue Ribbon School. And whereas since 1982, more than 9,000 of America's schools have received this coveted award that honors those who reflect the goals of high standards and accountability. And whereas the Blue Ribbon Schools program honors public and private elementary, middle, and high schools that demonstrate overall academic excellence or show success in closing achievement gaps. And whereas 312 public schools were selected nationwide out of more than 133,000 public schools in the nation for the 2019 Blue Ribbon Schools Award, which is one of the most prestigious education awards in the country. And whereas the Blue Ribbon Schools were officially honored at a conference and award ceremony November the 14th and 15th of this year in Washington, D.C. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Wythe County Board of Supervisors does hereby commend the faculty, staff, students, and parents of Brewery Retreat Elementary School on achieving the status of a U.S. Department of Education Blue Ribbon School in 2019. Congratulations, Mr. Ray. I'll let you hold it, sure.
I entertain a motion to adopt Resolution 2019-33.
So
I will
moved.
make that move. Oh, did you do that, Cheese?
My district.
It may be your district, but I'll do it. I'll second it, even though it is for Rouse.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Congratulations. Okay, we have resolution honoring George Wythe High School Girls Cross Country Team. Supervisor Lawson from West Whipple and Supervisor Lester from West Whipple will do the honors.
Girls, if y'all want to go ahead and step up front. And coaches, make it through here. Girls, am I on?
Yes.
I'm so proud of you all, winning state for the first time in the history of George Wythe High School. So, and I'm proud of you coaches too. You all do such an awesome job. And also, I'm pretty sure everyone in this room came just because of you all, right? Okay. Wythe County Resolution 2019-37. Whereas the George Wythe High School girls cross country team completed a remarkable 2019 season. And whereas the George Wythe High School girls cross country team were the Mountain Empire district champions and the Region 1C champions. And whereas the George Wythe High School girls cross country team advanced to the Virginia High School League's Class 1A state championship at Green Hill Park in Salem, Virginia on November 16, 2019. Whereas the George Wythe High School girls cross country team surpassed the competition by 49 points, earning the first ever girls cross country state championship title for George Wythe High School. And whereas runners Cameron Harden, Morgan Dalton, Nevada Kinser, Kaylee Temple, Kara Temple finished in the top 15, resulting in being named the VHSL 1A All-State team. And whereas the George Wythe High School girls cross country team completed an extraordinary season and displayed outstanding dedication, athletic ability, and sportsmanship. And whereas the Wythe County Board of Supervisors officially commends the 2019 George Wythe High School girls cross country team, comprised of Piper Bailey, Morgan Dalton, Cameron Harden, Mackenzie Ingo, Nevada Kinser, Kaylee Temple, Kara Temple, Olivia Waller, Mackenzie Wolf, and coaches Steve Gallagher and Julia Tomiak for their exemplary season. Now, therefore, it be resolved that the Wythe County Board of Supervisors presents this resolution to the George Wythe High School Girls Cross Country Team in recognition and appreciation of their achievements. And be it further resolved that a copy of this resolution be incorporated into the official minutes of the Wythe County Board of Supervisors, adopted this 26th day of November, 2019. Congratulations, y'all.
I'll entertain a motion to adopt Resolution 2019-37.
So moved.
Have a second? Have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Congratulations.
Thank you all. Congratulations again. Expect to see you next year. Congratulations. Congratulations. Awesome. Absolutely. I love these girls. And I'll get back to school.
Now, I'll let Ms. Lawson get back up here.
Have a good day. Have a good day. Congratulations.
We do have a few more seats available up front now.
Yes, we have a few more seats available up front. If anybody would like to come up and have a seat. Okay, next on our agenda is our Second Amendment resolution. Before we get started with citizens' comment, I'm going to ask the County Administrator, Mr. Byer, to read the resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Wythe County Resolution 2019-35. Whereas the Second Amendment of the United States Constitution reads, quote, "A regulated militia, been necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed," end quote. And whereas United States Supreme Court in District of Columbia versus Heller, 554 U.S. 570, year 2008, affirmed an individual's right to possess firearms unconnected with service in a militia for traditionally lawful purposes, such as self-defense within the home. And whereas United States Supreme Court in McDonald v. Chicago, 561 U.S. 742, year 2010, affirmed that the right of an individual to, quote, "keep and bear arms," end quote, as protected under the Second Amendment, is incorporated by the Due Process Clause of the 14th Amendment against the states. And whereas United States Supreme Court in United States v. Miller, 307 U.S. 174, year 1939, opined that firearms that are part of ordinary military equipment or with use that can contribute to the common defense are protected by the Second Amendment. And whereas Article 1, Section 13 of the Constitution of the United States provides, quote, "that a well-regulated militia composed of the body of the people trained to arms is the proper, natural, and safe defense for a free state. Therefore, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed," end quote. And whereas Article 1, Section 1 of the Constitution of Virginia reads, quote, "Be it that all men are that all men are by nature equally free and independent and have certain inherent rights, of which, when they enter into the state of society, they cannot, by any compact, deprive or divest thy posterity, namely the enjoyment of life and liberty, which means of acquiring and possessing property and pursuing and obtaining happiness and safety," end quote. And whereas Article 1, Section 2 of the Constitution of Virginia reads, quote, "that all power is vested in and consequently derived from the people, that magistrates are the trustees and servants and at all times amenable to them," end quote. And whereas certain legislation that has or may be introduced in the Virginia General Assembly and certain legislation which has or may be introduced in the United States Congress could have the effect of infringing upon the rights of law-abiding citizens to keep and bear arms as guaranteed by the Second Amendment of the United States Constitution in Article 1, Section 13 of the Constitution of Virginia. And whereas the Wythe County Board of Supervisors is concerned about the passage of any bill containing language which could be interpreted as infringing the rights of citizens of Wythe County to keep and bear arms. And whereas the Wythe County Board of Supervisors wishes to express its deep commitment to the rights of all citizens of Wythe County to keep and bear arms. And whereas the Wythe County Board of Supervisors wishes to express opposition to any law that would unconstitutionally restrict the rights of the citizens of Wythe County to keep and bear arms. And whereas the Wythe County Board of Supervisors wishes to express its intent to stand as a sanctuary county for Second Amendment rights and to oppose, within the limits of the Constitution of the United States and the Commonwealth of Virginia, any efforts to unconstitutionally restrict such rights and to use such legal means at its disposal to protect the rights of the citizens of Wythe County to keep and bear arms, including through legal action, the power to appropriate public funds, the right to petition for redress of grievances, and the power to direct the law enforcement employees of Wythe County to not enforce any unconstitutional law. Now therefore be it resolved by the Board of Supervisors of Wythe County, Virginia, that the Wythe Board of Supervisors hereby declares Wythe County as a, quote, Second Amendment sanctuary county, end quote, and that Wythe County Board of Supervisors that the Wythe County Board of Supervisors hereby expresses its intent to uphold the Second Amendment rights of the citizens of Wythe County, Virginia, and that the Wythe County Board of Supervisors hereby express its intent that public funds of the county not be used to restrict the Second Amendment rights of the citizens of Wythe County or to aid federal or state agencies in the restriction of said rights, and that the Wythe County Board of Supervisors hereby declares its intent to impose any infringement on the right of law-abiding citizens to keep and bear arms using such legal means as may be expedient, including, without limitation, court action.
Thank you, Mr. Barrett. Now, before we go into citizens' time, I'd like to remind each one of you, you have 5 minutes to speak as an individual, 10 minutes to speak as a group, and I will now open the floor for citizens to come up and address the resolution. Mr. Davis, I think you asked to come up.
5 minutes? I can do it. Wrong one. I'd just like to read a statement, and then I'll step out of the way. My name is, you need my address and all that too?
Yes.
Okay, my name is John Andrew Davis, 325 Mockingbird Lane, Max Meadows. For nearly 14 years, I've served in pastoral ministry, the last 9 here in Wytheville. It must be stated that in no way do I appear before you in my pastoral capacity, nor do I speak for any member of my church. I only mention my profession as it informs a great deal of what I'm about to offer for your consideration. For the last 5 years, I've served on the board of directors of an organization that advocates for the religious liberties of churches that operate schools and daycares. My place on this board has afforded me the opportunity to meet many officials and staffers, both at the General Assembly and in Congress. I've become very familiar with the agenda of our friends on the left, and I'm convinced that when they assume control in January, their actions will be swift, extreme, and aggressive. The issue at hand is the protection of our rights under the Second Amendment of the United States Constitution. Governor Northam and others have telegraphed their agenda, seeking to pass legislation that will enact red flag laws, limit magazine capacity, reinstate the one handgun purchase per month policy, ban assault rifles, and require background checks on all gun sales, among other things. And it will all be done under the banner of safety and common sense crime prevention. It is my conviction that any gun law that restricts the rights of law-abiding citizens is a violation of the guarantees enshrined in the Second Amendment of the Constitution. I have yet to see any compelling evidence that restrictions of this type do anything to reduce crime. In fact, it would seem the opposite is true. Case in point, Chicago has some of our nation's strictest gun laws and is rife with crime of all sorts, especially crimes involving guns. It is my position that the legislation that is almost certain to appear in the next session is not just an assault on the Second Amendment. Red flag laws have the potential to undermine basic rights to due process as expressed in the 14th and the 4th Amendments. But my greatest concern is this threat that it makes on the First Amendment. Enshrined there is a promise of religious liberty. As a Christian, I believe the Bible to be the inspired Word of God. As such, I am to obey its commands. 1 Timothy 5:8, Paul admonishes Timothy regarding his responsibility to his family. He said, "But if any," and I quote, "but if any provide not for his own, and especially for those of his own house, he hath denied the faith, and is worse than an infidel." While the context is physical provision like food, shelter, and clothing, there is a clear application regarding their safety as well. My religion requires that I provide for my family even in the matter of their safety. I cannot do that effectively without weapons proportionate to the potential threat. In short, these proposed gun laws will keep me from protecting my family and thus impede the free exercise of my religion. It's not just the Second Amendment that is in peril. From my perspective, the First Amendment is on thin ice as well. Be reminded that no other amendments are safe without the Second Amendment. Our right to bear arms is not about hunting. It's about the ability of a citizen to protect themselves and those they love from danger, even the danger posed by a tyrannical government. The original intent of the founders must be understood and applied. I appreciate Mr. Hale's reference earlier to the Fincastle resolutions. Sadly, today's culture does not recognize historical intent or legal precedents. I believe that there are some on the left that truly believe these measures are right and helpful and have the best intentions. Sadly, the roads to hell and to bad legislation are paved with good intentions. I respectfully ask that each member of this distinguished board vote to establish Wythe County as a sanctuary for the Second Amendment. I share Mr. Reeves' dislike for the term sanctuary, would welcome another term, but I'll go with whatever. I also agree with Mr. Reeves that our county should be prepared to fight this battle in the courts, no matter the cost. It is my further recommendation that our sheriff not dedicate any monetary resources or personnel to the enforcement of unconstitutional laws. These are my concerns and stated positions, and I appreciate your consideration. May God save our Commonwealth. Thank you.
Mr. Davis. Okay, I'll open the floor up for anyone else would like to come up and speak. Mr. Walters, and I'll get you next.
Sorry, I didn't sign in.
That's okay.
Wow. What a turnout. And we all know why everybody's here. For the record, I am Dean Walters. And for the record, I am the chairman of the Whittle Friends of the NRA. And I'm also the vice chair of the state of Virginia for the Friends of the NRA. And this thing has happened here in the past 2 weeks. This has been going on for a long time, because 8 years ago, New York done the same thing. A lot of people don't know this.
Mr. Walters, I
Yes.
will ask if you'll speak into the microphone, but we have
Okay.
a couple hundred people outside listening.
Okay, well, I'm sorry. But the beauty of this is we got a record turnout here for Wythe County. We've seen record turnouts all over the state of Virginia already to support the Second Amendment. I'm proud of every one of you. Mr. Chairman, Board of Supervisors, it's an honor to be living right now. And I want to thank each and every one of you that showed up today for support of this. This is only a start. We got a long ways to go, but we'll get there. Thank you all.
Thank you, Mr. Walters. Hey, the gentleman raised his hand.
Well, my name is Chris Miller. I'm a recent transplant, my family and I, to this county. We've been here about 3 years. I'm very encouraged with what I've heard today with this resolution. I do believe that we need to stand resolute with the Constitution and certainly the rights that we have enabled through the amendments, the Bill of Rights. My wife and I have a standing joke. We've moved 26 times in 28 years. We're prior military, and I'm currently serving as a pastor. And so in between all of these moves, we've had the opportunity to witness what happens when I've been deployed and lived overseas, and certainly lived in a number of states here within this great union that we know of as the America. And there's just a number of issues that come out when this aspect of our Second Amendment begins to erode. I'll give you a quick example. Lived in California for a number of years. You know where California is today. Recently served in Hawaii for about 4 years. We've been here for 3 now, but I can tell you that Hawaii did not start where they are today. we have, whether you're military, actually I was a pastor there at that time, and you have 3 days when you get into the state of Hawaii to take all of your firearms and take them to downtown Honolulu. This is on the island of Oahu, and get them registered. And so, you know, this infringement upon these great rights that we're afforded in this great country doesn't start overnight. It's a slippery slope. And I think that we may be on this slippery slope as we deal with our Constitution, not only at the federal level, but here in this great state of Virginia. I didn't have any of this planned. I just wanted to kind of bring some practical observations that I've had, my family has had over the years, as we've lived in different countries, as we've lived here in the States, and what happens when you don't have, when you don't follow the law of the land, the letter. And I believe that this, what may be coming down the pipe, would certainly be an unconstitutional law if it is passed in January, February by our state legislation. So I just wanted to thank each and every one of you guys for your resolute stand against this Constitution that we hold dear here in America. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, would anyone else would like to speak? Yes, ma'am.
My name is Tina Frazier. I've lived in Wythe County all my life except for 6.5 years, which I lived in Roanoke. I was a licensed firearm dealer at one time. And I have 4 children and several grandchildren and great-grandchildren. And I want to say that even when I was a young girl, my daddy bought me my first rifle. It was a little .22 single shot. And I went hunting with him to kill squirrels and rabbits so that we could have that for meat to eat and have it on our table. And I know that we have a lot of deer hunters. Granted, I do not see where anyone needs an assault rifle to kill a deer or a bear. If you know how to handle a firearm and have been taught the safeties of carrying a weapon, there's no reason you need assault rifles. But I'm here to speak on the behalf of my family and my grandchildren, because I've got a little granddaughter that this past year on the Children's Weekend, she killed a 4-point buck, and she's 9 years old. And they're wanting to take that away from her. They eat the deer meat. My 2 twin grandsons, they go hunting all the time, but they're in their 20s, and they've been hunting ever since they were big enough to walk. If they're taught how to treat a gun and have respect for that gun's not going to do any more harm than what the person is that's carrying it. It's just like having an automobile. How many car wrecks do we have every day on our interstates that we travel on all the time? It depends on how well you know how to maneuver that vehicle and know the laws of the land participating to your vehicle. It doesn't kill anybody unless that person that's behind the steering wheel doesn't abide by the laws or is not mentally capable of driving a vehicle. There is reasons why they shouldn't be on the road. And there are reasons why there's some people should not be allowed to bear arms. But we ought to have the right, the constitutional right, to bear our arms as we see fit. Now, I live alone, and yes, I sleep with a gun, and I've got one on right now. And there it is. I'm known as the wild woman on the hill. But, you know, I wear it because I need I feel like I need protection. Not that I'm going out here and I'm going to decide I want to shoot up a school. Heaven forbid. I have a grandson that has Down syndrome. I would hate to think that someone would go in a schoolhouse and shoot up the school where he's at because he does not have the ability to get out. But I do not see that the government has right to take our firearms away from us and our families, because this part of the country, we depend on them to get part of our food. As everybody knows, the food prices are going up and up and up. And I feel like that there may be a day that that's the only type of food that we're going to have. So I think that we should stand up for our rights. They're taking our right of speech away. You can't say what you would like to say because you may offend somebody. And they don't worry about our rights to whether we're offended or not. So I'm glad to see all these people that are out here this morning to stand up for our rights and not let the government push us down in a dark hole somewhere and forget where we're at and what we have need of, and that we are just as much a person and as any of the people that are in the Senate, in the House of Delegates, in any of the bodies of government. I do not think they have the right to tell all of us, can I go out here and kill me a squirrel out of the backyard? I've got all kinds of squirrels in my backyard, but I've made pets out of them. But anyway, I want to say, and when I was a firearms dealer, you really had to go through an act of Congress to get an assault rifle. You were not allowed to sell them unless someone had a special permit for it. And the farmers couldn't even buy a stick of dynamite to blow out a stump out of his cornfield. They had to go through and get special permits. But I don't see the harm in having a gun if you're taught how to use it. And I was taught from the time I could stand up, and I had to prop a gun up on a rock because I couldn't hold it to shoot. And I want to thank you all for the privilege of being able to speak out, to say what is on my heart. And I think that our young people should not be denied the right to do so, either if they are supervised by an adult that knows the law of the land, how to use a gun correctly and have respect for it and respect for the people. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Chaplain Cox.
Mr. Chairman, thank you for this opportunity. I did not come here today to say anything but to listen, but what I've heard has been very encouraging, especially from the Board of Supervisors in this resolution. I applaud you for this. I'll be 79 years old in just a couple of weeks. When I was 18, I went into the military and I took an oath. In that oath, it said that I would defend and support the Constitution of the United States, and that I would defend the country from all enemies, both foreign and domestic. The domestic part scares me these days. I've been a chaplain for the Georgia Bureau of Investigation. I've been a chaplain for the Georgia Homeland Security. Been a chaplain for the Dalton, Georgia Police Department, and now the Chief of Chaplains for the Wythe County Sheriff's Office. In each of those offices, I have taken an oath, all saying basically the same thing, that I would defend and uphold the Constitution of the United States of America. It does not say in any of those oaths that I will take away from the citizens their constitutional rights. It says I will defend those rights. And by God's grace, that's what I will do as long as He gives me breath to do so. we must remember that the pledge that we took just a few moments ago says with liberty and justice for all. That includes the Constitution and the Second Amendment. In my 28 and a half years in law enforcement, I have never been confronted by a law-abiding citizen with a firearm, only by criminals with firearms. It's the criminals. It is the criminal that we should be addressing, not the law-abiding citizens. And just for the record, I do not believe, and this is my opinion, I do not believe that the AR-15 that many of us own is an assault rifle. It's just Thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you, Chaplain Cox.
Mr. Chairman, Board, thank you for this opportunity. I'm Rebecca Snavely. I live in the Fort Chiswell District of Wythe County, and I want to thank you guys for passing this and for upholding our rights. And I also, Ms. Frazier here just about said everything that I was going to say. And everyone that I know that has a weapon, they are upstanding citizens. They do not break the law. And a lot of the people do depend on this for self-defense, to take care of their properties, their livestock, and also for hunting. And once again, I want to thank you guys for upholding this for us, and from all the people outside and in here that have came out in support of this. That says a lot for our county and for wanting to keep what we have. And I do uphold the Constitution, and I thank y'all. And now maybe we can go on to other things that our county needs. And God bless y'all, and have a blessed week.
Thank you, Mrs. Knight.
My name's Claude Odie, and I'm up here for a couple of reasons. One of the reasons is I would like to talk to the people that are here. There's several organizations in this country. They're extremely important. One of them is the NRA, as you know, and the other one is the Gun Owners of America. And the Gun Owners of America, I read about this. I'm a member of them, and I was on their site yesterday, and they were talking about the sanctuary counties and things that over the states. There's been 18 states that have counties in them that have done this. But what they are saying is for this thing to have teeth, it has to be done and worded to where, I'm not exactly sure what that is, but they have a guideline to go by that y'all need to look at to make sure that this thing has the teeth that it needs to have. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you. Anyone else?
My name's June Slimp. All I would say is that in England, they started by taking away rifles because they could be shot a long distance, and then you had to take your weapons down and have them locked up downtown, and you could go and get them to go hunting with, and then you could have a shotgun to go hunting with sometimes when they said you could. It's the eroding away of things that is dangerous. And people say assault weapons without any real idea of what those are and what those do. And as this lady did say, and others have said, the thing is the person that holds the weapon. And your law-abiding citizens are not a danger to this board or to this county. It's criminals that are a problem, and passing laws against any weapon at all does not affect criminals. If laws affected criminals, we wouldn't have a drug problem, we wouldn't have a theft problem, we wouldn't have a lot of problems. And the gentleman that just spoke talks about the Gun Owners of America. They have a great piece, I'm sure you all can access it online, where they say that the laws of the counties need to have teeth to say exactly what will happen if outside agents come in to arrest citizens at 3 o'clock in the morning. It wouldn't do well for somebody to try to kick my door in at 3 o'clock in the morning, because I'm not going to know who they are, and I'm not going to ask them who they are. They're going to meet the weapons that I have at hand. But I really appreciate you guys making the resolution that you have made, and I know that that can be added to in the future. And I appreciate it greatly. Thank you very much. Thank you for having this meeting. Thanks, everybody, for coming out. Good support.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Hello, my name's Maggie Bishop, and I want my children and grandchildren to have the same rights as I had and know what it is to go out and hunt for food and get you a little rabbit or a little squirrel. And I am a marcher for rights of animals, but food is food. And I also would like to say thank you all for doing this.
Thank you. I know we have a lot of people outside, and if anyone that can hear me outside would like to come in and speak, please do so. They'll let you in the back door and let you through. Anyone else?
Hello, my name is Philip Green. I live here in Wythe County. I've lived here for 2 years. My wife is a native, and we came back here to Wythe. I brought her back on a vacation. And we got back to Richmond, I said, what are we doing living here? Everybody I met here was a kind, loving person, and I haven't yet met a stranger in the over 2 years that I've lived here. I'd like to thank all our eloquent speakers today and the Board of Supervisors. Thank you very much for the privilege of standing here. And it's not so much that I came out here for myself. I'm an older guy. I came out for future generations of this town and this county. And what they're trying to do in Richmond, I would urge everybody to look at what the laws they're trying to pass right now. They're trying to make all of us good citizens criminals. The laws, like, our kids won't be able to inherit our guns unless they register the guns that they get from us when we're gone. And if we're ever on vacation, we have 48 hours to report a break-in about our guns being stolen. So we might be in Florida on vacation or something, and they come arrest us, and we got felony charges we got to face when we get back here because we didn't know our house was broken into on the 49th hour. I'm just saying, everybody look at what's going on. These politicians are famous for pulling one hair at a time, and they keep on plucking. No offense to the bald-headed people, but they keep on plucking until every hair's gone. And then you're left, what happened to my hair? It was one hair at a time, folks. And like these people were saying, they start with this little small enactment saying they're doing something. Look at Chicago. Chicago's got more gun laws than anywhere in the United States. 140-some deaths last week. Come on. It's not, they're not doing anything to get to the meat of what they're acting like they're trying to do. It's one hair at a time. That's all I'm saying. Look and see what they're doing ahead of time before they do it. Thank you again.
Thank you. I think there was some people outside that wanted to speak, but we have one person. Y'all just come on in.
My name's David Lawson, and I've lived in Wythe County all my life. And I was wanting to address part of this I don't think anybody's addressed yet, and that's that no matter how you feel about guns, if you take guns completely out of this, basically what's going on is people have purchased something legally where they live. And now the government's saying, we've changed our mind, we're going to come take that from you, and we're not going to compensate you for that. And that's stealing. No matter how you look at it, that's stealing. And there's a lot of people that's got a lot of money invested in guns. I mean, I know a guy that I worked with, he bought one a week, and that was his retirement because they go up in value and they're a good investment. So, I mean, it's just stealing no matter how you look at it. So that's the question. Are we going to let our government steal from us? I wouldn't let anybody steal from me, especially not the government. And I think there's not a person in the parking lot or a person in this room that does not know what the overwhelming majority of Wythe County wants out of this. I mean, I think everybody, well, I'm not saying everybody, but the overwhelming majority of Wythe County wants to be a sanctuary because they don't believe in what the government is trying to do to us. So the biggest question today that's on everybody's mind is whether or not our representatives are going to represent the overwhelming majority of our county. And I think I speak for everybody that I hope at the end of this, we feel like we've got the right representatives and we can be proud of y'all. And that's all. Thank you.
Thank you. I think we have some people that's come in from the outside. Come on up.
My name's Bart Knowlton. This isn't going to be a popular opinion, but I want to make sure that based on the resolution, that we've actually thought through all the long-term consequences of this. We said the county could appropriate funds. How much funds? How much, I mean, are we talking $500,000? Are we talking $10 million on challenging these? If we pass this law, and if the state passes laws, and they turn around and sue us, how much is that going to cost? You know, a lot of people talk about the Constitution, but when these laws are passed, it's pretty much guaranteed that they're going to be appealed all the way to the Supreme Court. And like it or not, the Supreme Court actually is the arbiter of what's constitutional, not anybody here. You know, and the resolution also stated that the possibility of asking our law enforcement to not enforce some of the laws. Well, what are the consequences of that? Take, for example, the red flag law. Are we going to tell our law enforcement, you're not allowed to enforce a red flag order from a judge? What happens if they do? Are we going to fire them? What happens if the judge threatens to hold them in contempt of court? Are they going to be standing here going, oh, well, I can be fired, or I can be held in contempt of court? That's a real world consequence. And on the other hand, if we say, you know, again on the red flag laws, if we say you're not allowed to enforce this, and then a week later, a judge orders confiscation based on the red flag law, we don't do it, and a week later somebody dies, what sort of lawsuit is that going to cause this county? How many millions of dollars, how much is that going to break this county? How much are we going to raise property taxes to cover those costs? So it's not just, you know, whether or not we want to do this, but we do need to make sure that we think about the real consequences long term, because realistically, I mean, right now we're talking about laws that haven't been passed by a legislation that hasn't even been seated. This most certainly going to be contested all the way to the Supreme Court, which will take 3, 4, 5 years. So we're talking about something 5 years down the road. And again, there's consequences to it. Do we want to take the risk, if we're going to do this, of the possibility that we might face a $50 million lawsuit because we're ordering our law enforcement to not enforce the laws that have been determined to be constitutional by the Supreme Court? I mean, like it or not, there are consequences, there are possibilities. We need to make sure that we've thought those through And this isn't just a knee-jerk reaction.
Let's have order, you know,
So-
let everybody else speak, and let's show some respect, please.
That's my concern, is that we need to make sure that we look at all the possibilities coming down the road from the consequences of this. Like I said, there's the possibility that if we pass this law, the state passes laws that are determined to be constitutional, they're gonna turn around and sue the county. How many millions of dollars is that going to cost to defend? So those questions need to be answered, or at least thought about. Thank you.
Thank you. Come on up.
From the parking lot, thank you. There's probably 300 people outside. I would say I'm a little confused as to why I'm standing up here. As alluded to before, Heller in 2008, and especially Miller in 1939, firearms that are part of ordinary military equipment or with use that could contribute to the common defense are protected by the Second Amendment. Two clauses in the Virginia State Constitution, Article 1, Section 13, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Article 1, Section 1 of the Constitution of Virginia, means of acquiring and possessing property and pursuing and obtaining happiness and safety. The AR is not an assault rifle, as said before. It's the Armalite rifle. Eugene Stoner invented the thing back in the late 50s. It's an excellent design. It lends itself well to multiple calibers. As it stands now, the .223 is probably not the best caliber for hunting deer, but you can bump it up to a .243 or a .308. It's a fine deer rifle then. But if I were to take my ARs, and if anybody else in the room has an AR, people out in the parking lot have an AR, we could all throw them up here in a big pile right in front of the council. They wouldn't do anything. We could take a high-capacity magazine, 30 rounds, we could throw them up there too. Now, I'd also like to state that a 30-round magazine is not necessarily high capacity. It's probably a standard capacity magazine. That's just because the way the military made it. It's easy to make a magazine. You stamp them out. Lots of people make them. Lots of people sell them. Okay? Now, we could run out here to Walmart or Rural King or come up here to New River and buy all the ammo and dump it up there on the floor either. That ammo isn't going to jump in the magazines. Those magazines aren't going to load themselves up into the AR, and the AR is not going to go around shooting people. It's the person that wields the weapon, and that's the person that's the problem. Why is Richmond telling you guys, telling me, telling you all that we're all criminals just because of the kind of the gun that we want to have? This is America, and if I want to have an AR, I want to have an AR, and I want to keep an AR. I can look out in the parking lot and I can see pickups, beautiful pickups, 700, 800 horsepower. Now, somebody can say nobody needs a pickup truck that big. Well, once again, this is America. We put footprints on the moon. No other country's done that. And if a guy wants to spend, $10,000 and take it out to a truck and tractor pull, let him. And by the same token, once again, I'd like to reiterate, I'd like to restate. This is America. We do things the way we want to, and nobody in Richmond is going to tell us what we can do or can't do with our ARs or any sort of weapon. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay. Mr. Coffey, come on in.
I'm Boyd Coffey, and I'm just a deer hunter, hard-working, tax-paying citizen here in Wythe County. I just want everybody to stand beside me and say that nobody's going to take our guns. No government. I want everybody to stand with us. If it comes that time, there'll be a fight. That's all I got to say.
Thank you, Mr. Coffey. Okay, anyone else?
I just have two things to say. I think two things we need to remember. It only took one woman to get abortion passed, the law passed. And we need to remember, I've heard a lot of talk about the AR-15 Remember, one of the largest assaults was at Virginia Tech University. 30-some people were killed. Didn't have an assault weapon, didn't have an AR-15. He had a handgun, a pistol, and killed 30-some people. If I wanted to kill someone, you don't need a gun. You can pick up a rock, you can pick up a stick, you can kill someone if you want to kill them. We don't need all these other stuff going on. We don't need these things where the government's telling us what to do.
Thank you.
Thanks, sir. My name's James Akers. I was born and raised here in Wythe County. As a fact, I have 3 ARs. They are .22 caliber. They're not the NATO's weaponry. They were legally bought. The magazines were bought legally. I've never been in trouble in this county, and I have the right to bear those arms. And the gentleman that was up here earlier and said something about he was worried about the cost. Well, what's the cost of freedom? You know, people died so that we could bear arms. And just for me personally, I'm 65 years old. I'm not giving up my guns. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Anyone else? I know we're running a little bit long on this, but I want to make sure everyone has the opportunity to speak.
This makes me nervous. My name's Moselle Wade, and I want to thank our police officers that do protect us with a gun. And if they take our guns, those politicians that are hollering, take our guns, they've got guns all around them to protect them and their families. So I think we should have our rights and our guns, because I know my husband used to work night shift, and I always had a gun. And he always told me to make sure if somebody come in, they grabbed one of our children, he said, do not give them the gun, because if you give up the gun and they've got the child, they're still going to take care of you. And my son is a police officer, and my other son was, and I appreciate what they do, that they protect us. And I run a business in Radford for years, and when I went into work of the mornings, it would be dark. I would call the police department, ask them if they would please have somebody to circle around, because drunks hung around, you know, people that drank, you don't know what to do. And they always had someone to circle around and watch out for me to make sure I got in. And it's not the guns that hurt people. It's the people behind it. And if they watch the people, and a lot of things have went on that people have murdered people, and they've had the flags up with those people, they did not do anything. They've let some of them go by. But the American people need their guns. I wouldn't want to be in a house by myself without a gun. And so, but I thank you all for listening to me, and I'm about to have a heart attack.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, no one else? No one else, I'll close the public comment period of this. All right. Okay, sir, come on up.
Yeah, hi, my name's Ernest Crockett. I moved here in 2006. I own several guns, and I use them for hunting to put food in my freezer to feed me. And trying to teach my grandchildren how to hunt. And I just say that if they try to take the rights away from these people and us, to have our guns to be able to do so, to hunt with, and like has been mentioned, to protect our home, it's going to be a war between Americans and Americans. The war is supposed to not be between us. We're supposed to be able to get along in the U.S., you know. we fight so much wars overseas and stuff. And, you know, I think that everybody outside is in agreement with me that, you know, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. Our guns are not going to disappear. Nobody's going to step in and take our guns. Nobody. So I'm just asking that each and every last one of y'all think this through, and please vote that we are a sanctuary for guns in this county. I love this county. I love where I live. I don't want to think that I ever have to move to another state because my state has just literally forgot about us, you know, and just said, you know, you're not going to have it. You're not going to have it. We're going to take it away from everybody. But if that was to happen, I would move out of this county, and it would be a sad day. So please think about our rights.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, hearing none, I will close the public comment period. I entertain a motion to approve Resolution 2019-35.
Mr. Chairman, I make that motion.
We have a second.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. And before we vote on this, I'm going to give the opportunity for each board member to speak if they would like. And Mr. Vaught, I'll start over here with you.
That might have been a bad choice, Mr. Chairman. I think Mr. Lawson went back outside, but I would like to thank him that I finally got it on the record that guns increase in value, and my wife won't call me a liar all the time. And since this is on YouTube and she'll be watching that, I'll make sure of it. I understand the excitement about being a freshman legislator for the delegates and senators who have won their district. Virginia has a lot of issues that I hope that they will address. This is not a priority. I hope that they take as much interest in the educational funding in Southwest Virginia. Because in the past 10 years, local funding has increased. Federal funding has increased. But yet state funding has stayed stagnant. And we've got a governor that likes to brag about having a state surplus. Economic development, we need funding in Southwest Virginia. Again, we've got a governor that likes to brag about a surplus. So there's issues that these new delegates and senators need to address. They need to leave our guns alone. There's an old saying that the only thing that stops a bad man with a gun is a good man with a gun. And I don't care if that good man is wearing a brown, gray, blue, or green uniform, or they're wearing a pair of Carhartt bibs. And I'll get off my soapbox, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Lester.
I want to say I agree with everyone that's spoken today. I appreciate the crowd we've got. I support the Second Amendment, and I agree with the resolution we've got.
Ms. Lawson?
Yes, thank you. I don't think I need to say much about this. To me, it's pretty simple. I will always support any resolution that supports the right to bear arms. And not only that, but any right under the United States Constitution.
Mr. Hale.
Yeah, some 60-plus years ago, I took the oath to defend the Constitution. And I've taken that oath several times since. One of the gentlemen spoke here that every time we pledge to that flag, we're really taking a pledge to support the Constitution. I intend to continue as long as God gives me breath to defend my right to own the arms that I do the handguns that I do, and to maintain my property rights as a landowner. That's what it's really all about. Our way of life is who we are. I don't know that we need this amendment because the Constitution says we have that right. And it means it. It's just one of the amendments in the Bill of Rights. The First Amendment gives us the right to be here, and for every one of you to stand up and speak your piece without fear from the board or the law or the government. So, you know, I understand why we're here. I've lived longer than some, but I see a few that probably got me by a couple of years. Or you've led a harder life, I don't know. But the Constitution means what it says. I've defended the Constitution all my life. I just wonder how many of you would show up here if we were talking about mental health and that we needed to help these people that are committing the crimes against humanity. We have board meetings here for the 8 years I've been on the board, and this is a pretty darn lonely place. Please come back and participate in government. This is what democracy is all about. Thank you.
Mr. McRoberts?
In 2005, I decided I was going to get rid of all my guns. I said, well, I don't need them. What's the use of me keeping them? I sold 75 guns, and I kept 2. I got one up over the sink, and I got one under my bed. It's not about having a gun. It's knowing about the reassurance that I got something there to stop somebody that comes to my house where he's got no business. For everybody in here and everybody outside, I'm voting for that.
Mr. Horny?
I think everybody said about everything. The only thing I hope is, I just hope that this sends a message to Richmond that, I mean, in a week or two, we're gonna have a public hearing on raising water rates, and I'll guarantee you there won't be as many people show up for it. So evidently, you can take our money, but don't take our guns.
Well, thank you, Mr. Horny, and thank the board. I'd like to say that our Constitution holds a special place in my heart. I can trace my ancestry back to Lieutenant George Reeves, who was a lieutenant in the Revolutionary War. My dad fought in World War II, along with his uncle, my uncle. I served in the U.S. Army, active duty, for 3 years, right after the end of Vietnam. And I have a son now that's a lieutenant in the Navy that's defending our country today. So it makes me emotional. And I truly love defending the Constitution of the United States. I've worked for the citizens of the state of Virginia most of my life. I've served the citizens here in Wythe County for the past 8 years. And, you know, service has been true and dear to my heart. And I do support this. I support the Second Amendment, and that's all I can say. With nothing else, no other comments, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution so passes.
Thank you all so much for coming out this morning.
Yeah,
We don't get much applause.
Yeah. Keep coming back.
I want to thank everyone for coming out. Please come back on any subject that comes up in front of the board that you feel strongly about. And now we're going to be in recess for about 10 minutes before we continue on with our agenda. back in. I'll call us back to order. It is 10:20. We'll move on into our agenda, citizens' time. Ms. Myers?
Yes, just one. Well, I'd like to thank you for taking our provocation to heart and acting swiftly on behalf of the county. Now it's time that we cement this action. The successful nullification and true creation of a Second Amendment sanctuary is only possible by the pledge of the local constitutional officers and the boards of supervisors. So, as a Second Amendment sanctuary in Virginia, we need to have the following listed in order of importance, and we need it included in every oath that is taken, written, signed, sealed, and delivered for new constitutional officers. The county attorney's pledge should include to decline to prosecute and promise to dismiss any charge arising from any gun legislation passed after January 1st, 2020. The sheriff's pledge to decline to investigate allegations of violations of any gun legislation that is enacted from January 1st, 2020. And the sheriff's pledge to decline to imprison anyone charged solely with violations of any gun legislation that is enacted from January 1st, 2020. And the Board of Supervisors and the sheriff, to the extent that she runs the E911 system, pledges to refuse to use any county resources, E911 vehicles, jails, or personnel, and the express defunding of the same from the next and subsequent county budgets if those people do not live up to their oaths of office, which should include upholding the Second Amendment rights. And I'd like to see you guys put that into some sort of a resolution or an upcoming oath that the new people coming in January would take. And if they don't take it, it disqualifies them from holding that office. Okay? I'll give the information to our administrator, and I'd appreciate it if you would take it under consideration. And in addition to that, the new board should take it up. When I was outside talking to all my neighbors here, I also had them sign petitions. They're asking for the second meeting of the Board of Supervisors to be held also at 7 p.m., just in case any of these people want to come. They don't have to take off from work. So instead of having it the second meeting of the month at 9 a.m., to in fact have it at 7 p.m., and I have those, and I will turn them into you. Thank you.
Wait a minute.
Yes.
Where does this language come from?
This language is, it's a framework for true Second Amendment in localities, state versus local governments, and it's on that sheet, and so on.
What's the origin? Who wrote it?
This was written by an attorney with the NRA in conjunction
Okay.
with the BCDL.
Not Russian affiliated?
No.
Thank you.
No.
Anyone else like to speak during citizens' time? Hearing none, I'll close citizens' time. Next item on our agenda is the payment of invoices. Entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Have a second.
Second.
Have a motion and second to pay the invoices. Any invoice any board member would like to pull out or have any questions of? Hearing none, I'll do a roll call vote. Mr. Horny?
Aye.
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 And the chair votes aye. Next item is our meeting, our previous meeting, November 13th, 2019. Entertain a motion to approve.
I'll make that motion, Mr. Chairman.
Second. Have a motion and a second. Any corrections, changes need to be made to the minutes? Hearing none, we'll do a roll call vote. Mr. Vaught?
Aye.
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 The chair votes aye. Old business. Mr. Byers, anything under old business?
I do not have any items under old business, Chairman.
Okay. Does any board member have anything under old business to bring up? Hearing none, we'll move into reports. Ms. Gwen, you're up.
I moved on you. I noticed you looked for my usual spot for me. Well, good morning. 'Tis the season to be busy. The financial report that you have in front of you for the month of October shows the consolidated account with a balance of $49,813,419. And of that balance, the balance in the general fund is $28,924,352. This includes about a week of our tax collections on this report. You're gonna see a major increase through November and into the December report when those come out to you. But overall, we're slowly on the uptick as far as revenue coming in, just primarily because we've billed out now at about $25 million in taxes. So we're working on collecting those. But does anyone have any questions on the financial report before I continue on with any other items?
Yeah, I've got a question, Lori. You're really getting good with graphs and charts. Apparently, the economy, you've heard this before, does not affect what we're collecting in motel and food tax. If the lines run together for an old man, I had to get the magnifying glass out to see what they were really doing. And the magenta color doesn't work for me. But do you see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. If we look back that far, when we first come on the board, we haven't seen that much change in those two secondary taxes. Those are revenue sources, and I know it's not your part of it, but my point is they haven't increased like the economy's grown. They haven't increased like the stock market shows. Mm-hmm. They haven't increased like all the gas taxes, the price of gas, right. Not the gas tax, yeah. But the price of gas. You get out here on 81 and it's wall-to-wall traffic. I'm at exit 80 or whether you're in rural retreat, people are there spending money. Mm-hmm. And we're not seeing that tax come through to the county.
Yeah, I've noticed that it's pretty well staying relatively steady.
Like
there's not much of a fluctuation in it, yeah. I'm hoping, I'll say we as the county can get development going down around, whether it's around the Apex Center or it's around Exit 80, some of these other areas that we can maybe bring in some more hotels and things like that, because, we're limited on what we have, especially lodging-wise, for the county. Most everyone, you do have those exceptions. They're going to come into the town in Whitfield and stay. And, I think that's where the increases are seen because they've added new hotels. Their hotels are constantly, I'm going to assume, staying filled up, especially during the summer travel months. But that's kind of an offset for us because we're kind of limited of what we have until we can get some new development. We're sort of stuck on some of that.
Excuse me, did you have input into that article that was in the paper some weeks ago that said that we had, I believe, $149 million worth of tourism dollars in Wood County? Isn't that what it said, Stephen?
I don't remember the figures.
Well, I don't forget millions. It's 149 million in tourism. That's part of it, but this is not tax dollars. It's total business numbers of 149 million.
And I'm not sure where those numbers are pulled from, if that's something that comes from Joint IDA or if that's some state numbers that someone has access to. Mr. Bayer might be able to better answer.
Well, I would say that what I was asking you, did you have any input or did the paper contact you to see how the county was doing for revenue?
No.
Thank you.
No.
I want to say something before we continue. Sure. Mr. Bayer, can you get from the town like their meals and lodging tax, and we compare that and see what the increase the town is seeing, because I know there's new hotels. There's one open and out next to the
and I'm sure their figures are definitely going to show increases just because of new restaurants, new hotels opening versus we
can
sort of
see
have the same
the growth,
sort of have the same
like
businesses.
5 years.
And don't have to go back that much, do we?
Well, that's what yours was, 5 year.
Ours runs from 2015
I think Mr.
to
Grant does 5
2020.
years.
Yeah, 5 years, and that'd give the board a better look at what our meal and lodging taxes has increased.
And I'll have them include the years of their tax increase also, because they have increased their taxes in those areas.
Okay, so, any other questions? Mr. Vaught, are you talked out today? Okay. Just checking. To date, as I mentioned a moment ago, we've billed out close to $25,500,000 in taxes. The last number I had given to you was at $23,530,000. Since that point in time, we've billed out the public service taxes and some additional supplemental taxes that the Commissioner's Office has identified to be billed out. So we're now sitting at total billed out at this date, or at this point in time, of $25,480,000. Of that, we've collected a little over $11,800,000, which equivalates out to about 47%. We are in better position this year. As far as the mail, no coming to you last year, this time we were thoroughly behind. We're about a day behind on mail right now. As of this morning, we're still processing the mail that came in yesterday, so we're able to keep that up better this year. I think with that is the increased time frame of being able to get the bills out a little bit sooner than what we had been. And again, as I mentioned before, is primarily due to the tax rate being adopted 30 days earlier, so that kind of backed up our process. Though we did have a few hiccups this time, just because we didn't have the security blanket of our IT guy, but we got through it, and I was happy with when the taxes went out, so I think we're in good shape. Our due date is next Thursday, the 5th, so coming up, our schedule, we close at 12:30 tomorrow. We will be closed Thursday and Friday as well. Then starting on Monday through Thursday of next week, we're open 8:30 to 6, so we're offering extended hours. We're not offering Saturday hours this year simply because our Saturday would be this upcoming Saturday, and with it being a holiday weekend, I just chose to not offer the Saturday hours. So we will have extended time next week, but any taxes paid prior to 6 p.m. next Thursday are considered on time. As of Friday, interest and penalty is added. So we are getting phone calls about if there's a deadline extension. Mr. Stowers put out a press release yesterday announcing that, but some of you have social media, things like that, even with the county page. Just please, even in talking to people, let them know that the due date is next Thursday. So we're trying to make everyone aware as much as we can, but you don't reach every person unless it's a topic like we were talking this morning. And I agree with Mr. Horny. I think you can take money, but you can't take firearms. So, but that's kind of our stance of where we're at in the office. Anyone have any questions on anything related to us at this point? Okay. Well, I hope everyone has a wonderful Thanksgiving, and we'll see you in a few days if we haven't already.
You
Thank
too, Lori. Have a good Thanksgiving.
Thank you.
I don't see the commissioner, and I don't see the sheriff.
Mr. Chairman, I will just mention on behalf of the commissioner, and this is not coming from her, but I will let you know that the Ms. Barker, Ms. Vaught, and staff recently had a meeting with a vendor looking at other software systems for the evaluation process. Be going through steps and coming up with procurement or shared procurement, or how we might be proceeding with that. But just want to let everyone know that we are looking at trying to put an updated assessment system in through the Commissioner of Revenue's office.
Which system did they look at?
They looked at ProVal most recently.
Roanoke uses.
What's that?
That's what Roanoke uses.
Yes, yes.
What
The
other?
gentleman from Roanoke was here that helped present that. So.
Okay, next is our water committee report. Mr. Horny.
The water committee met November the 19th, 2019, and makes the following recommendation. The water committee recommends holding a public hearing for consideration of raising the water rates by 10%, and there was a proposed rate sheet attached.
I know coming from committee, it doesn't need a second. Any comments? Mr. Barry, we talked about, I noticed, the commercial rates is the same as residential rates. Are they still working on that?
In the long term with the system, still looking at opportunities for how that could be divested. Currently, commercial brings in about half the amount of what the residential brings in.
And I'm saying, in my opinion, the commercial rates should be a little higher than what our residential rates are. And I'm gonna give a suggestion to the board, and I don't know where this will, when it will come up for the board for a vote, but, everyone on the board knows about our water rates and our debt service compared to what money we bring in on water rates. In addition to the 10% proposed increase in our water rates, instead of having such a large amount all at one time, in the upcoming structure, increasing it by 1% a year over the next 5 years or next 10 years, to me is a better solution than waiting till we get looking at the deficit we have in our water money coming in than what we're paying out for debt service. It should be self-sufficient. I mean, it should, people in the county has come and asked for water. We've tried to accommodate, and people needed water, like the people in Barron Springs. They needed water. These people down there didn't have water. And we do this, but we also need to make sure that it's paying for itself in the future.
We also have people, citizens living in Whitfield area, and it's got water that stinks, can't drink it. And the town of Whitfield won't take them water, so that means the county can take it. We don't have the money to do it. And the only way we're gonna get money is to raise the rates. We can't keep taking it out of water reserves. It'll be broke.
RD now says our water rate is not high enough for us to even apply for grants to kind of recoup some of this money back, through grants before we could extend water to other people. We get letters, emails and stuff now, people still wanting water in places in the county, but you look at what we're bringing in and debt service and what it costs to supply them water, it's not feasible for the board to do it at this time.
Mr. Chairman, if I might, I would just like to give people figures, people watching this figures, just so they understand. Due to the water rate that we've had for a while, the debt service and things that we've added, the information I shared with you all yesterday, the water department operationally on the side last year was a $238,000 loss in operations. Most of that coming out of debt service and payment to our joint operations and the River Water Authority. The water and wastewater accounts are considered enterprise funds, and we try to keep from having taxpayer dollars go in to supplement those amounts. So, and where the rate at which we're going in another 2 years, the water department funds would be depleted. We're down in the $400,000 range. And at that point in time, then you have to start taking tax dollars out of the general fund, which means tax dollars that you're charging to all the citizens in the process. The 10% increase would mean an average. The average user's bill right now is $37.17 for water. It would mean $3.72 increase a month for the water bill. For the commercial user is currently using $243 as the average bill. That would result in an increase of $24 a month. So less than $1 for the commercial user and somewhere in the 12-cent range or so a day for the residential user. And as you mentioned, the rates have not been increased since 2015.
I know this recommendation is just to set a public hearing, but I would like the board to consider, looking in the future of doing this a little bit at a time each year where it's not a big impact to the citizens. Along with this, to go forward.
And I'll, the biggest complaint I get is not from the water users about the rate of the non-user fee, and I'll echo my thoughts from last time we discussed this. We would reduce the non-user fee. I think most homeowners would agree that don't use it, would agree that it's worth the money for the fire hydrant. I hear from elderly people that are on fixed incomes, and, $3.70 is a lot to them, especially when they've got a good well that they've used for years. And I understand people on 4 end of the county that want the water. People on my end of the county, a lot of them don't want it, because they have good wells. When I was on a well, I had the experience where it went dry a couple times and it got contaminated one time, and I would love to have county water. But that's a hard sell for somebody that's been using a well for 50 or 60 years. If you drop that non-user fee down to $10 or $15 a month, that's worth it to have a fire hydrant, within a half a mile of your house. You're gonna save that much on your home. But I don't think they should pay the minimum rate that people that are hooked up to have to pay. I'd like to see some numbers of how many non-users we have and if we did lower that non-user rate, how that would affect the budget.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Barry, how hard would it be to run a mathematical analysis, maybe not lower those rates, but leave those non-user rates where they are and not affect an increase for them? Then you're giving those folks something. But in addition to the fire hydrant, if public water goes by your property becomes worth more. That's obvious. A lot of folks out in the county, both ways, would love to have water. Until we realize that we're really in the retail water business and we don't have enough customers is what the problem is. If we had a gas refinery here that was capable of producing 2 million gallons of gas like that water plant is, and we're only, at about 20-some% operational, or we're using about 20-some% of the capacity of the water plant?
New River Regional Water Authority?
Yeah.
No, we're higher than that, yeah.
Well, you're not to half yet. I don't think you're moving 1 million gallons. You're not selling 1 million gallons a day.
The New River Regional Water Authority.
Yeah.
How long will it be before I can give my people over in my area a little ray of hope? Hey, I'm working on your water.
Yeah.
I'll be dead and gone before we ever get it to them.
Yeah.
I mean, it don't make sense. We're losing 40,000 gallons a day in Ivanhoe. We don't have the money to fix it.
Yeah, currently, as of September, we were averaging about 575,000 gallons a day.
So that's what, 25% of capacity?
No, that's 38% of our capacity. of the capacity that we have. We only have 1.5
No,
million
I'm
gallons.
talking about plant capacity,
Yeah,
not
yeah.
our capacity.
Yes. The overall capacity of the plant is actually using right now in the range of 50% to 60% total capacity between Wytheville, Wythe County, and Carroll County. Carroll County is actually coming close to pushing the limits of their capacity, which means at that time we have to go into the discussions of expansion of the plant.
Right, okay.
And expansion of the plant, if that involves us as well for potential capacity.
But
for
what's
Wythe
the total
County-
water sales of the plant per day? to
The
everybody?
average right now, July was 2.2 million gallons, August was 2.2 million gallons, September was 2 million gallons, 2.1 million gallons.
What was your question?
That's what the New River Region Water Authority is producing every day to Wythe County, the town of Whiffle, and Carroll County.
Well, aren't you at capacity now then?
Not yet, but we're at 50% right there.
So
It's
that's,
it's a 4 million gallon plant.
okay, and it can be increased 2 million per sale?
It can be, at a cost, yes.
Okay. But the issue has not changed since the last time we talked about this. To keep your costs down or reasonable, you gotta have more customers. We can't get more customers because our revenue is not such that we can get RD loans for these high-impact areas. We've got identified high-impact areas that if we had water there, we'd pick up 50 or 60 customers instead of building these long lines where people do need water. Now, this is probably gonna create a problem for at least 3 of you. I was informed this past week something that I believe to be untrue. You know, we've been trying to work with Smith County on water. There's a segment in the Black Lick District that says that Wythe County is the one that's holding it up. I don't believe that to be true. I don't believe it's ever been true. If we can sell the water that we're dumping, and that's still going on, isn't it? To keep the water fresh.
They are blowing off some water on the western end line, yes.
Right. If we can sell that water at a profit to Smith County, I encourage us to do that. If we can work with the town of Rural Creek, give them a fee to push it through their lines. If they don't want to do that, go ahead and build a line and let's sell that water instead of dumping it in a ditch. No business would be doing business that way. We agree on that, don't we? But Wythe County is not the one holding it up. Is that true?
That is correct.
I'd like that entered into the record, Mr. Chairman.
Yes,
For the
sir,
record,
Mr.
Smith
Taft.
County and Wythe County went in jointly and received a grant from Mount Rogers PDC. Smith County has hired an engineering firm to do the study and preliminary engineering report for an interconnection. And it is currently in Smith County's hands that they have hired the engineering firm and are working on that.
And I don't say too much about it, but after the first year, you know, I don't know, the change of their board and other things, it's happening. We'll just have to, this board will have to see where that stands.
So I don't have any problem addressing it. This whole thing come from their board, that we were the one that was holding it up. Their new board has said to Wythe County citizens that Wythe County is holding it up, and that's just not true. That's a fact.
I hadn't heard that. Okay, recommendation of the Water Committee is to set a public hearing. You want to set it for January the 14th?
The authority, the recommendation they talked about the other day was have it on December 10th, but you can set it for January 14th.
I mean, it doesn't have it here in December the 10th, so.
So it's not on that paper, but that's what the water committee said.
Okay.
Is that a day meeting or evening?
That's an evening
Evening
meeting.
meeting. December the 10th. Set a public hearing, that's a recommendation from the Water Committee. Any other comments or questions? Hearing none, all in favor of setting the public hearing for the water rate increase of 10% on December the 10th, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Public hearing so set. Anything else from the Water Committee?
Nope.
Budget Committee?
Wait a minute,
What?
where are we with the generators coming online?
The contract, well, I don't know if you've gone by and seen the work that's going on it, but 2 contracts have been released, one for the preparation of the site and getting it poured, the second for the electrical work to connect it once the generator is set in place. So the work is ongoing on it.
Is the town of Whipple going to participate in the cost?
Yes, they have been agreed to participate all the way through.
Okay, thank you.
Budget Committee report.
Budget Committee met on November 21st, 2019, and recommends the following. First item is to amend and appropriate $1,200 to 31021-461260 for the DMV Alcohol Selective Enforcement Grant.
Come from committee, it doesn't need a second. Any questions?
Mr. Chairman, this is for the sheriff's office, I'm assuming?
Yes.
Yes. Hear none, we'll do a roll call vote. Mr. Horny?
Aye.
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 I'll abstain.
And the chair votes aye. Next item.
Next item is to accept the Burn Jag Law Enforcement Equipment Grant in the amount of $22,400.
Again, come from committee, it doesn't need a second. Any other questions? Hear none, we'll do a roll call vote. Mr. Vaught?
I'll abstain.
Aye.
Abstain.
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. Next item.
To accept the Violence Against Women's Act grant in the amount of $42,045.
Again, come from committee, it doesn't need a second. Any questions, comments?
Mr. Chairman, just to clarify, this position was moved from the sheriff's office into the Commonwealth Attorney's office last year.
Yes, it was. Hearing none, we'll do a roll call vote. Mr. Horny?
Aye.
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 Chair votes aye. Next item.
To amend and appropriate $20,000 from the DMV stop fees revenue line item 11003-319027 to 1213-430150 to cover additional DMV stop fees.
Again, come from committee, it doesn't need a second. Any questions?
Mr. Chairman, I will just say I appreciate Ms. Gwen and her staff's efforts on this. In the memo supporting this, the DMV stops has resulted in personal property tax collections of $225,000.
Money well spent.
Yes.
Hearing none, we'll do a roll call vote. Mr. Horny?
Aye.
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 And the chair votes aye. Next item.
To transfer $4,600 from the Commonwealth's Attorney State Asset Forfeiture Account to budget line 2201-461100 for the purchase of cameras for the patrol officers.
Okay, again, come from committee, it doesn't need a second. Any other questions, comments?
Why is this coming from the Commonwealth's attorney instead of the sheriff? I mean, I'm just curious.
He had state asset forfeiture funds and was willing to provide it for that purpose.
Any other questions? Hearing none, we'll do a roll call vote. Mr. Vaught?
I'll abstain.
Aye.
I guess I'll abstain too.
Aye.
Aye.
The chair votes aye. Next item.
To set up budget expenditure and revenue codes under 3505 for community animal response team donations.
Okay, come from committee, it doesn't need a second. You want to give a little explanation
Yes,
on
we have
this?
a community animal rescue team that is in place, and we have a equipment van over here that has crates and stuff in it. Should we have an emergency and need to set up a shelter, they take there and set up. It's Mr. Crawford is involved with it, but we do have, it's mainly a lot of volunteers involved with it. they are wanting to do some fundraising in order to have some money to buy us additional supplies and things. And since they are not, any type of designated agency or whatever, but a response team set up under the county, just requesting establishment of a revenue code so that when those donations can come in, Ms. Glenn will have a code to apply those to, and we'll set up an expenditure code in the Department of Emergency Services to expend those monies as they come in. We'll amend and appropriate those monies to those codes, and then spend that for the additional equipment needed for the cart team.
Okay, does that bring up any questions? Hear none, we'll do a roll call vote. Mr. Ball?
Aye.
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. Next item.
To amend and appropriate $3,500 to 7110-441010. These funds will be used to pay a high water bill for the Roy Retreat Lake campground due to an undetected water leak.
Okay, again, come from committee, it doesn't need a second, and Mr. Byron informed us that we've already had some adjustments up there in this.
We will continue to work with the town. We're also working on some leak detection systems and some notification systems to help alert staff when leaks are happening or when spigots may have been left on, so that we know that it's continually turning. So we will try to work to keep from having the high water bills and see if we can do any additional negotiations with the town on addressing any of the high bills.
So either this bill's already been adjusted, or we've already had a previous
We've already had a
adjustment.
Previous adjustment.
So does this explain why the lake's full?
Okay, any other comments? Hearing none, Mr. Horny?
Aye.
Aye.
The chair votes aye. Next item.
To adopt the rural development governing body and loan resolutions for the Ricky Road Water Project.
Again, coming from committee, it doesn't need a second. Any comments or questions?
Is that project out to bid yet?
It is not out to bid yet, but real close. We are close to closing on, once we get this last paperwork done, we'll be closing on the loan with rural development.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other questions? Hearing none, Mr. Balt?
Aye.
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 The chair votes aye. Next item.
To proceed with option number 3 for the Apex project financing.
Again, coming from committee, it doesn't need a second. Any questions?
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Baird, can you explain that, please?
Yes, I certainly can. At the last meeting, I handed out to you the proposals that were received by VACO VML Finance for the issuance. On page 82 of your package are 3 options that came forth from the VACO VML Finances as recommended options. Option 1 and option 2, option 1 is a 10-year term with a 20-year amortization. Option 2 is a 20-year term with a 20-year amortization through BB&T Bank. Both of those options have a prepayment penalty of 1% for any prepayment in the first 10 years of the term. Option number 3 is from National Bank, which obviously is local here also and who the county deals with. A 10-year over with a 20-year amortization. But this one does not have any prepayment penalties associated with it. One of our goals is with the creation of these 5 lots along Chapman Road is to sell those lots off. And as you sell those lots, staff's recommendation is that we use the sale of those lots to prepay the bill to decrease the debt on that property. Therefore, we are recommending proceeding with the National Bank option that does not have any prepayment penalties.
So just for everyone watching, which Apex project is this? The barn or the lot?
This is both. This combines both of it. There's $2 million being borrowed for the lots. There's $1 million for Apex capital improvements.
Any other questions?
Clarify, for everybody here that $1 million is not for the barn. It's for all the capital improvements, because we got the grant money there, we got the private funds money there, that makes that a whole. Is that correct, Mr. Baird?
Yeah, the $1 million, what you all indicated in your budget this year was to put $1 million for capital investments into the Apex Center. And that's what this million is borrowed for. The barn is a part of it, but it is not all of it.
All right, okay.
Any other questions? Hearing none, we'll do a roll call vote. Mr. Horny?
Aye.
All right,
No.
Aye.
No.
The chair votes aye. Motion passes. Next item.
To amend and appropriate $300,000 to the Apex construction budget for the grants from the Tobacco Region Revitalization Commission, 9000-470223, and a subsequent amendment to the revenue budget as needed.
Again, coming from committee, it doesn't need a second. Any other questions?
Just transfer $300,000.
This is putting the grants that you got in from the Tobacco Commission into the budget.
Any other questions?
I'll make a comment on that. As you all know, I do not support any extra funding for the Apex or the barn, but I'm certainly not going to vote no on a grant.
Any other comments? Hear none, we'll do a roll call vote. Mr. Vaught?
No.
Aye.
Aye.
all right,
Aye.
The chair votes aye. Next item.
To amend the revenue budget for the VDEM generator project as follows. 50003-334001 federal grants, $86,250. 50003-325053 VDEM grants, $23,000. 50003-31911 Town of Withfield, 50% of local, $20,901. 50003-319200 surplus, $130,151.
Again, come from committee, it doesn't need a second. Any other questions?
Mr. Chairman, I will comment. This is just an amendment to the revenue budget. This will assist in the $130,000 he referenced is actually a decrease to what's coming out of surplus and putting it into what's coming into the federal, the state, and from the town of Withfield into this. And this does help in using the tracking system within our Tyler Munis system, that we can track this project by the individual budget amounts. So it's just a revenue amendment adjustment, not an expenditure adjustment.
I have no
That
question.
raised any questions, Mr. Hale?
As far as this funding, are we sure that telemetry is gonna work? That if there's a drop in line pressure, those pumps will come on?
Well, that is all run through the SCADA system.
Yeah.
The SCADA system now, currently, they control when they're turning on those pumps and when they're turning off, and that's all set up. This will just provide the electrical generator to provide the power to run those pumps and also to power that equipment, the SCADA equipment, so it knows to turn on and they can still control the equipment.
It's all being tied together professionally by part of the installation.
Yes.
And I would assume that it has a 1 or 2 year warranty on this work being done.
I don't remember the warranty, but yes.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Hear none, we'll do a roll call vote. Mr. Vaught?
Aye.
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 All right,
Aye.
The chair votes aye. Next item.
To amend the revenue budget for the rural development loan funding of the Ricky Road Water Line Extension Project as follows. 50003-341207 RD proceeds, Ricky Road, $286,000. 50003-319200 is surplus of $286,000.
Again, come from committee, it doesn't need a second. Any questions?
Thank God for this. It's been about 10 years coming.
Any more
Have that
comments?
one rock down there.
Yeah, one rock. Oh,
Hear none, We'll do a roll call vote, Mr. Horny.
Aye.
All right,
Aye.
Aye.
The chair votes aye. Is that everything from the Budget Committee?
That's it.
Okay, County Administrator's report.
Mr. Chairman, I do not have any information for you today. All action items are included in the new business.
Okay, County
I got a
Attorney's.
question.
Yes, sir.
You have an update on the fire truck delivery?
Barron Springs is delivered. Max Meadows, I have not gotten an update on the date, and Ms. Collins, you've not heard anything on it yet either, have you?
Didn't they say that it might be January?
That's, I think, what Rodney said at the meeting the other day was it could be as late as January.
But we have any idea why it was delayed? That wasn't part of the original proposal, was it?
I do not know, Mr. Hale. I'll talk to Mr. Haywood and see what information he can get and provide to you.
Thank you.
I think it was supposed to be ready around Christmas, and they weren't going to travel down there to do the final inspection during Christmas.
He said he think it was supposed to be ready during Christmas, but they weren't gonna be, the Max Meadows was not traveling down there during Christmas to do the final inspection. It would probably be the first of the year.
Okay.
Okay, County Attorney's report. Mr. Farley. Okay. Board of Supervisors, Blacklick District, Mr. Bob.
Nothing at this time.
District 2, West Whipple, Mr. Nestor.
Nothing at this time.
Ms. Lawson, District 3, East Whipple.
The only thing I'll say is thank you to Mr. Farthing for all of the work you did on the resolution and researching on that, and also the staff here for helping that go very smooth this morning for what I feel like was probably our largest meeting in the history of Board of Supervisors meeting. So thank you all for everything you all did, and that's all I have.
District 4, Fort Chiswell District.
Not anything.
District 5, Lead Mines, Mr.
Yeah, I'd like
Roberts.
to say thank you, Martha Cole. Thank you, Coley.
They binded it and
I
everything?
try to see if you get a bonus on your check.
What happened to your laptop? What happened to your,
It's not koi proof.
it's not COI proof. Okay.
Y'all went as far to put it in a binder for him?
That's impressive. That's professional.
Okay, District 6, Speedwell, Mr. Horny.
I had one thing, Gus may need to help me with it. Speedwell Fire Department has got some lights out on the building
Yep.
that need to be fixed.
They're fixed.
They are fixed now? Okay.
And at large, I have nothing to bring up at this time. Going to new business, entertain a motion to approve our consent calendar.
So
Make
moved.
that motion.
Have a second.
I'll second.
Have a motion and a second to approve our November 26th consent calendar. Any questions? Comments? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Next item is Tazewell County Mutual Aid Agreement.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, we received this, Mr. Crawford received this from Tazewell, interested in just having a mutual aid agreement with County. We've had several mutual aid agreements with different localities and recommend approving this mutual aid agreement.
I have a motion.
So moved.
Have a second.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion or questions? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Next item is with Twin County Community Animal Response Team MOU.
Yes, you have a proposal here between the With County Community Animal Response Team that I spoke of earlier and the Twin County Community Response Team. Just basically a memorandum of understanding between the two groups, given the ability to work together in cases that they may need to.
Okay, does that bring up any questions? Well, have a motion to approve.
So moved.
Have a second.
Second.
Does that bring up any questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Next item is DMV animal friendly license plates.
Mr. Chairman, we received, I lost the figure here now. $300, from the state. The With Bland Animal Welfare League historically has been the group, that has, expressed interest in using these funds and using them for the purpose of sterilization. We have been in contact with them, and they are willing to do that once again, so I recommend approval of the memorandum here, basically for option number 2 with the assignment of the funds to the With Bland Animal Welfare League.
Okay, entertain a motion to accept the staff's recommendation.
Make that motion.
Have a second?
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any questions? Comments? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, next, collection center's holiday schedule.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. The B&M Recycling has requested to be closed on Christmas Eve, December 24th, 2019. The JPSA transfer station has voted to be closed on the 24th also. Would recommend approval of the collection centers being closed on December 24th.
Entertain a motion to accept county staff's recommendation.
So moved.
Have a second?
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any other discussion or comments?
Have you made effort to make sure all the boxes are empty when you do reopen?
They have, and they're doing the best they can. Obviously, Monday will be a very busy day with the weekend pulls that have come through there. And then obviously the day after Christmas will be the start of all the trash coming into the centers. Friday at the transfer station will be very busy. The transfer station is no longer open on Saturday. So I'm a little worried about the Friday, Saturday, and Sunday after Christmas every year. We always have that problem, but just, there's not much you can do on the weekend dates there. And unfortunately, wrapping paper doesn't weigh a lot, so it's a whole lot of crushed wrapping paper in there.
Okay, any other questions? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, Mountain Brothers Health District Local Government Agreement, Governance Agreement, I mean.
Mr. Chairman, as I was reviewing this, I thought of previous Blacklead Supervisor, Dr. Hausman. He used to always check every year and see at what month we got the July 1st, 2019 agreement in place from the Health District. So this year it is November. We have received the agreement between the Virginia Department of Health and the Wythe County Board of Supervisors, and would recommend approval of the agreement.
Entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Have a second.
Second.
Have a motion and second. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, next item, resolution support for Smith County's women residential treatment facility. What is that?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, this is, we received this from Smith County. They are just requesting support of this resolution and provide them that the support, and it would put a residential treatment facility in Smith County and therefore limit some of the areas that they have to do the traveling to.
Oh, I read
No
that.
cost.
There's no cost to us. We're just offering support.
Okay, we have a resolution 2019-32. Entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Have a second.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any other questions or comments?
Mr. Baird, do you know, the way I read it, this is a private business that's wanting to lease, I guess, a building on the grounds of Southwestern State. Is that correct?
I don't know if it's private, I know that they referenced there'd been an existing facility located there, that could be utilized for the women's residential treatment facility. I do not know if it's a private group that's with it or not.
Any other questions? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, next is the Lewis and Clark Eastern Legacy Trail.
I'd like to address that, didn't we? Do you need a motion for that?
Yeah, and entertain a motion to approve resolution 2019-36.
Yeah, I think that's something we need to support because it's a legacy trail that reinforces the tourism that's possible with the Great Road. From about 1800 to 1900, massive migration happened down the valley and through the Southwest Plateau, and the Great Road went right through here. If it's utilized properly, it can be a further tourist attraction. If you need to know more about this, I highly recommend, if you read for pleasure, read Undaunted Courage by Michener. It's about Lewis and Clark's whole trip. If you hadn't read it, it's a good read.
Okay, I entertain a motion to approve resolution 2019-36.
So moved.
Have a second?
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any other questions or discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, next item is abstract votes from November the 5th, 2019 election.
I make a motion we approve this.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Next is the Joint Public Service Authority's financial report. Entertain a motion to accept.
So moved.
Have a second.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So passes. Before we go into closed session, I asked why there are some people here. Anybody else got anything to bring before the board at this time? Hearing none, I entertain a motion to go into closed section or code section under the Code of Virginia, section 2.2-3711A5, discussion of prospective industry.
So moved.
Have a second.
Second.
Any questions or discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We are now in closed session. Okay, I'll entertain a motion to come out of closed session.
So moved.
Have a second.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to come out of closed session. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We're now out of closed session. Mr. Fletcher, you want to read the certification of our closed session?
Whereas the West County Board of Supervisors has convened a closed meeting on this date pursuant to an affirmative recorded vote and in accordance with the provisions of the Virginia Freedom of Information Act. And whereas section 2.2-3712 of the Code of Virginia requires a certification by the West County Board of Supervisors that such a meeting was conducted in conformity with Virginia law. Now therefore be it resolved that the West County Board of Supervisors hereby certifies that, to the best of each member's knowledge, only public business matters lawfully exempted from open meeting requirements by Virginia law were discussed in the closed meeting to which this certification resolution applies. And only such public business matters as were identified in the motion convening the closed meeting were heard, discussed, or considered by the West County Board of Supervisors.
Have a second.
Second.
Have a motion second. We'll do a roll call vote. Mr. Horny?
Aye.
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 The chair votes aye. You have your informational pack in your board package. Stevens, anything else we need to discuss?
I do not have any other business, Mr. Chairman. I will just, two things. One, wish everyone a happy Thanksgiving. The offices will be closed from noon tomorrow very disappointed during supervisor's time that Mr. Lester did not at least give us an update on some very important information, and I will ask him to please do so.
Yeah.
Genesis Bailey Lester was born yesterday at 7:56 in the morning.
And I've already seen the pictures on Facebook, and she's very beautiful.
If it had been me, I'd announced that when there was 400 people there just to get them all applauding. But congratulations, Charlotte, that's a great year. I meant to call you last night and I failed to do so.
Is that the first supervisor that's ever?
Wow. 19 years that I have been here. Mark has been here a little bit longer than me. I do not know. That's probably so.
I bet it is.
No, Artie.
Artie.
Oh, did Artie? Yeah.
Ryan said she'd like to be the first female
Ryan's done.
to give birth as a board member.
Okay. There's nothing else to bring for the board at this time. We are adjourned.